Hello and welcome to the Force Friday show where we discuss all things Star Wars. And joining me as ever is Stephen, and we've got a few things to discuss this week, Stephen, but of course the headline is all about Disney confirming that we're going to get a Captain Cassian Andor series to join and complement The Mandalorian on the new Disney streaming service, which we now know is going to be called Disney Plus. This is very exciting, Stephen, isn't it? Are you happy about this? Are you excited to see Cassian Andor coming back? I'm very excited because, again, it's going to flesh out the universe of Star Wars, the galaxy. We're going to flesh out the prequel to a prequel. We're going to get to see K2SO, I'm sure. We're going to get to see Cassian Andor, the darker side of that character, because it was heavily hinted in Rogue One that this guy had seen some shit, he'd done some shit. Yeah. We even see it at the beginning of Rogue One where he...
very ruthless,
very ruthless guy. So we're going to see what made and shaped this guy into the figure we see with the start and the middle and the end of Rogue One. And we're going to get to see the prequel to a prequel, and it's going to be great, Stephen. I know it is. So are you happy about this?
I certainly am, John. I think the character, I was going to say that one of the criticisms of Rogue One was that the characters weren't fleshed out enough. Yes. But in this case, we're going to get one of the characters certainly fleshed out in the leading role. And well, I actually didn't think about K2SO. I actually forgot about that character as well. But I think bringing back Diego Luna as well, he's a big Star Wars fan, as we know. We saw that from the promotional stuff when Rogue One was promoting prior to the release. And it'd be very good to get some of the other characters back. The characters that he, like Mon Mothma and Bail Organa. Certainly we couldn't bring back the likes of the Donnie Yen character and Riz Ahmed's character Bodhi, because that's
General Merrick as well, though, Stephen, and Admiral
Raddus. It would work. It certainly would work, and we could go back to Yavin as well. You know, all these familiar places. A lot of people might moan that we're going over old ground again. It's been covered in Rogue One. It's been covered in Solo. It's going to be covered in The Mandalorian, which is going to be set after Return of the Jedi. So it's that sort of 10-year period, you know, that we're all familiar with. But I don't mind it if it's this character, because I like Diego Luna as an actor anyway. I took to the character right away. I know a lot of people, as I said, thought that the characters weren't fleshed out enough. I felt they were. They were dealing with a lot of characters and a storyline that we were very familiar with. It was a very safe film, but it was a very good film. And it's good to see it. I think this is going to be a very good series for the new streaming service as well, along with the Tom Hiddleston one where he's playing Loki again, which we'll not talk about because that's not what this is about. This is about Star Wars. But I'm very excited with this. This is some more good news. You know, if I wasn't excited to be seeing The Mandalorian at some point next year, I certainly am with this series as well, which is still to be named, I believe. We certainly don't have a plot or a storyline to it. It's very early days, but I can imagine it's going to be about espionage and daring missions.
Yes, it will be about espionage and daring missions. I think Bob Iger actually said that, Stephen, and he might not have done. I think it was just a statement in general from Disney. They say it's going to be a rousing spy thriller which will explore tales filled with espionage, daring missions, in which they will hope to restore hope to a galaxy firmly within the grip of the ruthless Empire. I can't wait to see it. As I did say, I think it's going to be a fantastic complementary show to The Mandalorian, where you're getting to see later events in the galaxy, obviously in between the Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. You're going to follow this lone gunslinger who's walking about the outer reaches of the galaxy. This is again going to be following a fairly ruthless, potentially lone gunslinger of a character. I wouldn't say gunslinger, but a lone figure, because it seems to me that him and K2SO had a bit of a close relationship, but by all accounts he was sent off in these missions pretty much himself at times. We've seen that at the start of Rogue One, where he interrogates Tivik, played by Daniel Mays, who I'd like to see pop up in this as well. I think he's a great actor. We didn't get to see a lot of that character. He was obviously injured, but it'd be great to see some of the characters we've seen brief glimpses of in the Rogue One film, see them getting fleshed out better. We're not going to get to see Jyn Erso, that's for sure. As you did say, we're not going to see Baze Malbus or Chirrut Imri. But I'm sure we will see K2SO. I'm sure we'll get to see... we can't see Princess Leia, sadly, unless they recast her. But it'd be brilliant to see the likes of Admiral Raddus, General Dodonna, who played a bit of a get in it, I do believe. If I'm not getting mixed up, no, I think it may have been General Draven who was the one who wanted to kill, obviously, Galen Russell. But just getting to see these familiar characters, it opens up a whole host of possibilities. Will we see Saw Gerrera as well? How far back is it going to go in this prequel to the Rogue One film?
Yeah, we might even see Vader. I don't know. It's
a possibility. They may. It depends on whether they go and look at the perspective of the Empire. We may even get to see Orson Krennic maybe popping up for a little cameo. I don't know. Would it take you out of it? I don't know. Maybe it would. Perhaps they're just going to focus heavily. It sounds to me almost like a more serious live-action version of Resistance, but that was obviously about espionage missions into the First Order. This is going to be espionage missions into the Empire. So until we get to see more fleshed out details about plots and stuff, who's going to be popping up in terms of cast, it's all very much hearsay, but it's exciting. I'm glad to see they're continuing to go down the route of TV. It's something I've wanted to see for years upon years upon years. We had that TV show that never was from George Lucas round about the prequel days, where apparently had 100 episodes worth of content and scripts written up. Never seen the light of day, which was sad. I think it was going to be an underworld sort of a Boba Fett bounty hunter affair. Great to see this world again getting delved into in a different medium outside of movie, because some of the best Star Wars content and stories we've seen in the last 10 years have came in Rebels and the Clone Wars. So it's brilliant to see that we're doing this again, but this time with live action, and hopefully we'll get a whole host of new interesting characters to complement the ones we've already seen. Will we get the likes of Alan Tudyk back? I really do hope we do. Who we're going to get directing this, who we're going to get producing it, it's also not going to be Favreau, so it'll be intriguing to see what direction they go. Is this going to be a chance again for maybe Dave Filoni to come in and do producing on this, and that'll show his ability to produce live action stuff, maybe mentoring him to take over from Kathleen Kennedy in a couple of years' time?
Yeah, they've went about this one in the opposite way they did with the Favreau stuff, John, because we got John Favreau on board before we knew what he was doing. This time we know what they're doing, but they've not got a producer on board.
Have they?
They might have. This is very new news. Only dropped a few days ago anyway, John, so I'm pretty sure over the next few days, the next few weeks, we're going to see a lot more information coming out about this. Certainly the big push from Disney is going to be The Mandalorian next year, in regards to the Star Wars elements of the Disney Plus streaming service. We already know what they're going to be doing with the Marvel stuff from the Disney streaming service, with Tom Hiddleston playing Loki again. As I said, we'll not get into that, but I'm just interested to know if a lot of the George Lucas ideas are probably getting used now, if they're going to regurgitate a lot of his ideas, because as you said, John, it was over 100, was it 100 episodes or 100
I believe
hours?
it was over 100 episodes of stories they had written.
That's a lot of information that they certainly could fall back on, take ideas, cherry pick from it. They certainly did that with the Legend stuff, as it's now called, as well, cherry picking the best elements from that. I'm just wondering if they're doing that with the George Lucas material from a decade ago. Who knows? I remember when that was announced and then it was debunked later on. I was very disappointed, because I was very interested to see a Star Wars television series. It probably wasn't the right time for it either. We didn't have the likes of the Game of Thrones and stuff like that at that time. But there's more money getting thrown at television now than there was in the past. Television was always seen as a sort of the poor man's production, if you like, of storytelling. It's certainly not like that now. You get a lot more time to develop your characters in television, and that's how I'm interested in seeing Cassian Andor's story, and I think this is going to be fleshed out in how many episodes they're going to do of this. I would imagine it's going to be maybe 10 episodes, very similar to The Mandalorian. Yeah,
and it'll be interesting to see what size of budget they actually put towards this, where it'll be similar to The Mandalorian, $100 million, where you're getting $10 million an episode. It'll be intriguing. I don't know whether the scale will be as grand as The Mandalorian. I would hope it would be. And I'm just, as I did say, I'm glad to see they're going down the TV route with Star Wars now, because it does offer a greater scope for you to flesh the story out very slowly, develop outside characters, side stories, develop the mythology out a little bit more in interesting places you may not have a chance to go to in a film, because you're restricted to 2 hours, 2.5 hours of a running time. This allows you to do things slower, but although not too slow, because you want to have some tension and thrilling aspects to it, with it being a spy espionage series. But I just cannot wait to see how far they're going to get back in this man's life. Are we going to maybe see him as a young teenager, maybe de-age him. I don't know. The possibilities are endless, because he's such a ruthless guy. He's shown you that's what I loved about Rogue One. The fact we did see that ruthless edge to the rebellion, that we never really got to see. We never got to see anything of the rebellion in the original Star Wars films, and we just got to see the primary main players, the likes of Leia, Luke, Han Solo, obviously Lando, Mon Mothma. Afterwards, we got to see the higher up figures. We never got to see hit the lower, grittier side of the rebellion, and obviously the ruthless nature they would have had dealing with an even more ruthless outfit in the Empire. So it's going to be great to see what shaped this guy, because he was such a cold-blooded guy. Because he killed the Tivik character, obviously, just so he wouldn't relay information to the Stormtroopers. So it's going to be interesting to see what shaped this guy, what he got up to, because he obviously got up to some amazingly interesting things. He was a morally ambiguous figure, and I just cannot wait to see this darker, grittier side of the rebellion again. It's amazing that a film had so much problems in terms of production, having to have a 30% of it reshot. Amazing to see some of the interesting characters it's produced, and that you can go off on a side tangent with these characters and do something interesting, give them a whole TV show. That's something I've always loved about Star Wars as well. The side characters popping up, maybe having a smaller role in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, Cassian Andor had a big part to play in the Rogue One. He wasn't a Boba Fett by any means, part of the furniture, or set fella. But it's amazing that you can take a fairly small character like this in the grand scheme of things, and you can go off and do something very interesting. But I hope we get to Dick the Warrior. I want to see K2SO and how they develop that relationship.
But I hope they do stay at that level, John. I did say about Vader earlier on, but I was being very flippant there, because I don't really want them going down that road. One of the elements I liked about Solo, A Star Wars Story, those sequences in the trenches with Han and the Woody Harrelson character, some of it was the best stuff I saw in that film, and I liked that perspective of ground level troops from the Empire side, which we've not seen before. It's always high end. It's always the ones that are on the Death Star or on the Star Destroyers.
And big mythological moments.
Yeah, exactly. So I hope they stay with that sort of tone for this television series as well, because that's certainly what they're doing with The Mandalorian. It's all going to be about this character and what he's getting up to, and not looking at the sort of bigger things. It's going to be very street level, if you like. And I hope they do the same with Cassian Andor's character as well.
Well, that's how you make a distinction between the films as well, Stephen, and the TV shows. It's almost like the Marvel stuff, the Netflix. It's smaller, more human scale characters like Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, and then the films are dealing with the big powerful characters literally changing the galaxy, the likes of Hulk and Thor and Thanos and stuff like that. So it's good to have that distinction, but have it at a high calibre, like Game of Thrones and stuff like that, where you're getting good set design, good quality production, and getting good people on board, the likes of Bryce Dallas Howard to direct and stuff like that. I know it'll be fantastic one way or the other, and I'm very excited to see them continue to delve out the stories into the platform of TV, also the medium of TV. Certainly in this day and age where it's becoming more and more influential, having these big streaming services, so they need to have a great array of content to put on that new service for it coming out, so it can get people over from Netflix and stuff. But I'm going to move on, Stephen, because I think we've said just about all we can from a tiny little announcement from Disney, and obviously the intrigue over that character, obviously from coming over from Rogue One. But the next story is an interesting one. It's from Simon Pegg, and he's thinking that the new Star Wars films are missing George Lucas and his imagination. Well, we've said this for a while, Stephen, that you can slag George Lucas all you want about his writing, about his corny, you can write this shit but not say it dialogue. But one thing you can't slag is a guy's imagination.
And do you know who was one of the people that said that in a television comedy series called Spaced?
It would have been Simon Pegg.
It was Simon Pegg, that's right. He absolutely hated and panned the prequels back in the day. In a very funny way, to be honest with you. It was I think he was really just voicing what everyone was thinking at the time. But since then, he has went on to appear in the Star Trek franchise, and more notably from Star Wars. He went on to appear in The Force Awakens as Unkar Plutt, as we know, although you probably wouldn't recognise him under all those prosthetics. But yeah, John, just going back to this headline in regards to it could be doing with a little bit of the Lucas magic. I don't know. I think if you stick to a Lucas formula, in regards to storylines, I think J.J. Abrams is quite friendly with Simon Pegg, so he might take exception to what he's saying here. But I don't think he's really he's not panning the sequel trilogy in any sense. I think he's got good things to say about J.J. Abrams' direction and Rian Johnson's direction as well. But I think what he's trying to say is that the consistency with Lucas, overseeing things throughout the original trilogy. As we know, he only directed that first one, A New Hope. He directed all 3 of the prequels. I think that's probably where he might have maybe been better taking a step back and let. I don't want to say proper directors, and that's a bit disrespectful, but people could get in with their own sort of flair and their own sort of mark. With Lucas's approval, but I think that's what he's trying to get at. I think there is a bit of inconsistencies at the moment with The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi in regards to storytelling and feel as well. I think The Last Jedi does kind of take you out a little bit, and it's very glaring that scene at the very end of The Force Awakens where we're reintroduced to Luke Skywalker, and then when we cut to the Last Jedi version of that scene, the tone and everything is just totally changed in it, and it kind of ruins it for me anyway. I don't know how you feel about that, John, but that ending was perfect. It was one of the best Star Wars endings, but it kind of get soured with that whole lightsaber getting thrown over the shoulder thing. But I don't know if that's what he means in regards to having someone there like George Lucas, who is a great storyteller. He's not the best at directing actors. He's not really a people person in that sense, but he is a very good storyteller and a world builder as well. Yeah. And but saying that, George Lucas has come out and said that he has enjoyed the last 2 films. He's not been sort of jumping for joy over them or anything like that, but he's had good things, positive things to say about the last 2 episodes. He's not panned them in any sense. I think he's very supportive of J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson and their directorial talents. But I'll let you in anyway, John, with your thoughts on this.
Yeah, well, as I did say, Stephen, it's just the guy's ability to build worlds and think out interesting characters, planets, and just maybe shaking up with mythology. Sometimes it rubs people up the wrong way with the midichlorians and stuff, but he's definitely got an imagination. You can't take that from him. It's because of him we're actually sitting here discussing Star Wars, because if it wasn't for George, there wouldn't be any Luke, there wouldn't be any Han, there wouldn't be any Force, no lightsabers, no AT-ATs, nothing. So he's certainly got an imagination, and he was the guy that obviously overseen all of this up until the sequels. And you can slag off the prequels all you want, but I mean, you just look at the worlds he went to, and the likes of Felucia, Camino, Geonosis. They were all vibrant, colourful worlds with interesting alien species kicking around there. You had the insect sort of creatures on Geonosis, those big, long, gangly-legged, multi-armed Gascano type aliens that were on the Camino. I can't remember the bloody name of the species. But he went to a whole array of interesting worlds. He shook up the mythology as best he could at times. He never really repeated the story if he could help it. He's mentioned it before, there's a degree of symmetry. It's like poetry, history repeats itself. But he always tried to go off and do something different, so I can see what he's meaning here. It's kind of a missing his imagination. For all the criticisms of The Last Jedi, I'll say that it definitely did go to interesting worlds with Crate, obviously, and Canto Bight. That was kind of an ode to the prequels, but it's just this current sequel trilogy, and maybe to an extent Solo as well. I liked the Rogue One. I think it's still my favourite one, but again, it's kind of a lacking imagination. They're going over the same old ground. Solo, we've seen Solo's backstory to a degree when obviously in the original trilogy he was a fairly young guy in his 30s, 20s, so to go over that again, then you can over an excerpt from the screen crawl of the original film. I love the way they did that. I thought that was very ingenious. But you could say it's lacking imagination, and you could say it's maybe lacking the all-seeing, watchful eye of the creator himself, George Lucas, maybe steering things a certain way. He'd maybe come in and say, look, I don't like this, I don't like that, do this, do this. So I can understand what he's saying. It's maybe lacking his imagination, but if he had to have took control of this sequel trilogy and done the small microbial story he had in mind, it'd get absolutely panned.
Yeah, I think so, John. We covered that in a previous episode of the Force Friday show, and you're right. I think it would have I think we were kind of semi-slating it as well, because it was a bit off the wall. But One thing I will say is that if this is going to be the final episode of the saga films, if we don't get to see an episode 10, if this is it, if they knew that from, you know, they signed the papers over, I think they should have involved George Lucas just to keep the continuity and the feel of those saga films, you know, consistent. Because I think after episode 9, it's going to, if they're not going back to it, they're certainly going in another direction anyway with the Rian Johnson trilogy and the Spinoff and Wise series as well, which we didn't cover last week, but there has been news that once they're finished with Game of Thrones, they're going right into their Star Wars films. So I think they'll have all their notes ready and they'll start to flesh out those notes once they're done with that television series with HBO. And I think this is when we're finally going to see Star Wars going off in a different direction, a different time period. A lot of people are still saying it's going to be possibly the Old Republic, which I'm quite happy about because I think it's a period that's not been explored out with the video games. It certainly intrigues me, and you've got the right two people in to do it as well. But I still would like to see possibly George Lucas involved in some fashion because, as you said, he built these worlds a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and I would still like to see him. That's me assuming that he still wants to be involved in some capacity, and I think he did initially. He certainly did pitch his ideas to Lucasfilm after he signed all the contracts over, and they were binned. Unfortunately, they went off in a different direction, but I kind of understand what Simon Pegg is trying to say here. It does kind of miss that in this saga film, or the saga films, I should say, in particularly sequel trilogy, and it might have been an idea to bring him on board just for some ideas or something like that, or someone they can go to as an advisor, but hey ho.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree, Stephen. I think it's definitely missing that spark of maybe the great imagination of George Lucas. I don't know. Some people would say he's got a shite imagination because they just can't give him credit because they're bitter still over the prequels. I think that the section of the fandoms maybe decreasing by the day, though. I think when they look at the sequel trilogy and the direction we've went with the mythology and some of the handling of the legacy characters, I think they've grown in their fondness of that prequel trilogy as the days go by. But just touching briefly on that Spinoff and Wise announcement, Stephen, the confirmation that they're going straight into the saga films, or their films, after they finish Game of Thrones. Before we move on, do you actually think, I'll ask you a quick little question, do you think that will maybe see us having a break between episode 9 and then the next set of films? Do you think this is why they're announcing the Cassian Andor series, why we're getting the Mandalorian? Are we going to focus more on TV shows and then after maybe a year or two we'll go into those films? Because I don't think we're getting the Rian Johnson trilogies until a trilogy or set of films until 2020 at the absolute earliest, so there's going to be at least a year gap there, I would have thought. Yeah,
I think in my head I've already sort of pictured the way they're going to do this until the Star Wars Celebration comes out and announces in a kind of a Marvel style phase, all these phases and stuff like that. I think next year we're going to be concentrating on the Mandalorian in episode 9 for sure. I don't think there's going to be much more than that. Getting into the production of their Cassian Andor, it could be maybe a couple of years away before we see that, I think, because we've not even put pen to paper yet in that regards to that project. I think the first film we're going to see after the saga ones will probably be a Rian Johnson film. I think that'll be the first one, and then possibly Spinoff and Wise. They're only going on as you know, for they're going to be the producers. Who knows who they're going to pick for their directors for that? I'm sure they've got their ideas. I think that's the way it's going to go. I think it'll be a Rian Johnson film, a Spinoff and Wise film, a Rian Johnson film, Spinoff and Wise, and in between that we're going to get a television series. I think there was maybe an idea at one point that they were going to do 2 films per year, but I think they've shelved that now, and they're going to concentrate on 1 television series and 1 film each year. Yeah,
if anything, I could probably see it going to 2 yearly. Every 2 years a film comes out and then TV shows in between it. But who knows, we shall see in time. But we're going to move on to the next topic, and it's all about Rey. This is a theory that's floating around from some geezer on Reddit who suggests that maybe Rey killed her parents. Is there a big clue in The Last Jedi that hints at said shock twist, Stephen? The clue that he's referring to is Kylo Ren saying to Rey at the end of The Last Jedi, they're dead, they're in a pauper's grave on Jakku. He is then suggesting that how does Kylo know this information? Because Rey didn't obviously provide him with that information.
Yeah.
And he's hinting that maybe he's subconsciously, or maybe through the Force, seen that Rey has force pulled the parent ship that we see flying off in the Force Awakens back down to the earth and killed him, and that this moment of awakening is why she then suddenly realises, oh hold on, I do remember what happened to him. Maybe she shut it out her brain, she's killed him and she doesn't realise it. Do you think this is a potential to be true? Would you want this to happen in episode 9? Do you want to be flashback and show that she's killed her parents? Is this going to be a I'm your father moment, but I killed my father moment?
This is the worst theory I've ever heard, John. I'll tell you why. Because we already hate Kylo Ren. We don't really want to go down the road of hating Rey as well by finding these
anyway, Stephen, so.
Probably for the wrong reasons, though, John. I mean, the character means well, but we need a hero. We don't need another flawed character. We've got that in Ben Solo. It's a bit of a stretch. I'm just wondering who this Reddit person is, if his second name is Zero by any chance. But I just think it's a bit of a stretch. Even if it did go down that road, I would hate it because it's, as I say, it's a bit of a stretch. It's lazy writing in my book as well. Taking that line, "they're dead in a pauper's grave," is such a stretch to suggest that she murdered her own parents. I don't know why you'd get that. I might be eating my own words come December 2019, but I doubt it very much. It's a terrible theory. I don't know where they're going to go with this because it was such a build up in The Force Awakens, wasn't it, about her parents? These sort of flashbacks have been left with Unkar Plutt on Jakku, and that whole emphasis about Rey saying to BB-8 it's a big secret and all that. J.J. Abrams is a man who's good at setting up storylines. Rian Johnson just didn't really go there with it. That's where that line comes in from Kylo Ren. Basically, they're just nobodies, and it's such a disappointing revelation that would have been if he is telling truth. At this point, I don't really care who her parents are. At first, I was hoping it would be Luke's daughter, but looking back in that sort of theory now, it is very cheesy. Now we know where Luke was, in his place in the galaxy at that point as well. It just didn't fit. But who knows? There might be another twist. I don't think this is it, though. I think this is a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, the exact line that he says after that, or his exact wording of why he thinks this may be a theory, is that the last that we know that Rey's seen of her parents was of them flying away in the ship, and how does Kylo know they are dead? He then goes on to say, well, maybe one of the big twists in episode 9 is that Rey pulled that ship down with the Force, a theory I've seen elsewhere, not my original idea, so he's not the original Bampot that floated this idea. He says she blocked it out, but now that she has met Kylo, she realises she also killed her parents, and is not so different from him. This is the part of what brings them closer in The Last Jedi, but we're not made privy to this detail in their memory exchange. I think we've already found out that wasn't why they were brought closer. They were brought closer because of Snoke. He created the connection. He brought them together and done the little Force FaceTimes. And then also since that's been created, we get a hint that it's maybe going to be continuing, that it's something that's just there now because of a connection thanks to Snoke. I don't think that she thinks she's the same as him either. I think that kind of was hinted at the end of The Last Jedi, that they went their separate ways. She tried to pull him to the light, try to give him a chance to redeem himself and come over to the rebellion or the resistance or the Republic, whatever the hell would happen if he left. I think the First Order would be in complete disarray. And she's walked away from him and says, well, that's it, you've had your chance, I'm away. So it's not even a possibility. It's terrible. Yeah,
there's another bit that I don't think this chap's considered as well, that there's a line in The Last Jedi, John, from Snoke, where he's confronting Kylo Ren in regards to his scars, and he actually says at one point, to a girl that's never held a lightsaber. So if she's had all these hidden powers where she can pull down ships from the sky and stuff like that, surely she's held a lightsaber, surely she's she knows how to build a lightsaber, she knows how to handle herself. The training as well, it just doesn't make any sense. You know, all those training.
The whole title, Stephen, of The Force Awakens was that the Force awakened in her in the middle of that film.
She didn't know she had it.
Yeah, and that's why she was so powerful, because the dark side rising, the Force had to find someone in the absence of Luke, who was shut off from the Force. It had to find someone to propel up to the standard of Kylo to meet the challenge. So she couldn't have pulled the ship down because she just awoken within the Force in the middle of that film. So
it's called The Force Awakens again.
The Force Awakens again, it's ridiculous. The only thing that would give it a modicum, a tiny little sliver of credibility is the fact that they are going back to Jordan to film, or going to Jordan to film. It's a similar location to Jakku, and that may hint that there's a significance on that planet. They're going back to maybe explore that, but we don't know if it is Jakku. It's all speculation. They're clutching at very minute, tiny little straws with a little Jeremy Beadle hands. It's not even. We don't know if it's Jakku. It could be any planet. Jesus Christ, they're clutching at straws. It's a terrible theory, almost up there with the likes of Snoke being Mace Windu and things like that. It's just ridiculous. But this is why we love Star Wars and fans of Star Wars, because they just pluck these ridiculous theories out of thin air and they go off and do something with it, man. But it's ridiculous. It's not going to happen. No chance. And I'm going to move on to the next topic. And the final topic of this week's False Friday show, and it's another theory. And this one is a little bit more credible. And it's the potential of the Knights of Ren being not in the present, but in Kyle's future. And that's why Rian Johnson couldn't find any time for them in The Last Jedi. Such a packed story full of interesting plot points, and you couldn't find anywhere in that film to have Luke grieve. He's one of his greatest friends in the saga trilogy, the saga story, Han Solo, and he couldn't find anywhere in it for the Knights of Ren, who look so cool in that flashback or flash forward scene in The Force Awakens. Maybe this is why, Stephen. Maybe it's not Rian Johnson's fault after all that he couldn't fit everything in. But he could fit in animal cruelty adverts on Canto Bite and fit in a crap character in Rose. Maybe it's just that J.J. Abrams told him, look, don't do anything with them. This is something I've got in mind. Because he did speak with J.J. I know he did, because I'm sure J.J. came out and says that. They had consultations. Maybe he says to Rian Johnson, this is for the future. Don't touch him in this film. So it's possible.
I'm sure J.J. Abrams has actually come out and said they'd like to do a Knights of Ren film as well. So that would make sense. But the only problem with this is that it would only mean that Kylo Ren has to survive the events of Episode 9.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's in that flashback.
This is the future.
But he's in that flash forward,
Yeah, that's true.
So and so's Rey. I'm pretty sure that's because she's like only a few feet away from them.
Well, no, I think it was just saying that. I still don't know, Steve.
No,
it's all shrouded in secrecy.
Yeah, it might have been just from her perspective, but certainly there was a look from Kylo Ren looking at her in that rain terrain, whatever they were on.
What I always took from that flash forward, the flashback sequence, that it was the destruction of a Jedi academy or temple, and it was Luke or some other person, and she got to see that destruction and just everything that was calling back to Luke and the Force. Because she tried to touch Luke's or Anakin's lightsaber, and it brought all these emotions. I don't know. But it's possible. It'd be cool.
I would personally like to see them in Episode 9. I really wanted to see them in Episode 8. I think a lot of people thought that as well. Certainly from those flashbacks, flash forwards, whatever you want to call them. It was a cool scene. It was a cool scene also in the trailer. Why put that in the trailer? That's really misleading. It really is, because they were in the film for maybe 2-3 seconds, and that was it. And it was a big part of that. I think it was the second trailer that came out. A lot of people that are familiar with the Knights of Ren knew who they were right away, and if you look at any of the trailer reactions from The Force Awakens, the excitement of seeing these characters in that trailer as well was a bit of a...
It was gross.
Misselling. It definitely was misselling, and I wasn't too familiar with them. I think it was yourself that filled me in on these characters, John. And it was certainly something I thought was very dark in that trailer as well. And the sequence itself, that's still one of the things I do enjoy about The Force Awakens, is that whole sequence. I thought J.J. Abrams did that very well. It was future echoes we were seeing. It was things from the past, like we saw on Cloud City. The whole Vader Skywalker battle on Cloud City, on Bespin. And it was just a good sequence. It was something that we'd never really seen before in a Star Wars film. Flashbacks. We saw those sort of future echoes in, I think, episode 3. Anakin was having visions of Padme.
We've also seen the distorted future echoes in Empire Strikes Back as well, where Luke, well, we don't see it, but Luke's seeing his friends in trouble. Yeah,
that's right. And that whole sequence in the cave on Dagobah as well. So there is, there is a history of those sort of sequences in Star Wars films anyway, but that certainly was the sort of more visual, the most visual one we saw in The Force Awakens. I hope they're in episode 9. I don't know if there's going to be room for them. That's the problem, because for what we're seeing in the reports is that this is going to be very heavily laden with flashbacks and sequences and references to the past. This is the kind of rumours we're getting at the moment. As we say, this is a theory, it's speculation at the moment, even this one. So it's really just where they can shoehorn them in. I really hope they don't do that. If they're going to use them properly and give them a proper storyline.
Yeah, well, it's like I said previously about the Cassian Andor TV series, Stephen. This is great. You've got these side characters that don't really have a big part to play, but they could then be fleshed out in another medium TV show. The big problem I have with this potential future theory is that in the shot in The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren is wearing his mask, which of course he destroys in The Last Jedi. So how can we then go forward? Is he recreated the mask? He's just thought to himself, well, screw Snoke, he was wrong. I liked the mask and I liked the voice. I liked the mask and I liked the voice, incidentally, me, not Kylo Ren. I really enjoyed the deepness of the voice. He's already got a deep voice, Adam Driver, but it sounded incredible. It was one of my favourite things from The Force Awakens, the mask, and the voice was so cool. You're so right, and things like that, and put him on board and stuff like that. It was just great. So I don't know how we would fit it into the story. I mean, certainly if we've got time to fit animal cruelty side plots in that are just completely superfluous to the main story in the Last Jedi, then I'm sure we can have a 2.5 hour, 3 hour film where we can somehow fit Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren's joint arc in some way. I don't know. But look, I'll be happy to see them in a TV show. If Adam Driver's happy to then go in and play Kylo Ren in a TV show after he inevitably gets killed at the end of episode 9, I'd be happy to see him in a TV show with Kylo Ren doing some stuff in between the events of whenever the hell Luke's temple get destroyed in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. I'd be happy to see it. But it's all speculation again, Stephen. It's two theories that are a bit unlikely. One a little bit more credible. This one utterly terrible. And I've not got much more to add to it. And I'm going to end the show on that note. That is the end of this week's Force Friday show. But of course we discuss all things Star Wars and also Loki things at the beginning. We'd just like to thank you for listening to us once again, and we will be back next Tuesday with Box Office Chat.
Remember guys, if you enjoyed that episode, then do hit that like button, comment below, and maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. If you want to follow us on social media for all the latest updates from Movie Burner Entertainment, then we can be found on Twitter and Facebook at Movie Burners. You can also listen to us on Google Play and iTunes at the Movie Burner Podcast. And last but not least, if you want to access all the latest written reviews and the occasional article, then that can be found on our website at movieburnerentertainment.org. Until the next time, goodbye.